Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on March 15th, 2023 at approximately 12:43 p.m. PST. Before I get into that, I returned to this world for one primary purpose, and that is to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, the reason I call myself a spiritual guide is because the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally live by, are exact same tools I personally use, and the philosophies I talk about are the ones I personally live by. Now, before I get into anything, this is extremely impromptu, so to speak. I think that's the best word for it. Dogface, how you doing? I figured I should come back on and let you guys know why things had really gone a little sideways. Okay, I've missed the last few days because, family issues came to light that had to be dealt with, and I had no option. They landed right smack in the middle of everything else. Now, as you can tell by my throat, things are not necessarily going as well as they should. So that being said, I don't know how long I'll be here. By the way, Dogface, you're in with the gold. Nathan, welcome in. You come in with the silver. This was a very impromptu day, so I figured I'd just pop in since I had a few things I had to do and see what I could get accomplished. Thus far, things have been, shall we say, a little bit off kilter. Gotta do that. So, what do we got here? Well, we haven't dropped dead yet, Dogface. The reality of it is I had to deal with issues at the school and at the end with my brother that happened to fall right smack when I should have been here. When I was planning on being in here. And therefore I didn't get functional options. Hey YJ, how you doing? So I figured I'd drop in and let people know that I was actually still breathing. No, I didn't have any health issues aside from the fact, in case you hadn't, what do we got here? In case you hadn't noticed, my throat is not working as well as I would like. Besides that, I've got another thing that I've got to deal with potentially right after school and right after my son gets home from school, which would prevent me from being here again anyway. Okay. And like I told him this morning, I've got to take that into consideration. Because disappearing for a week without warning just isn't going to work all that well. Now, I do have a couple of things I have to get done, which is why I said this was sort of impromptu. Where are we here? Okay. 04 to 07, whoop to 06. There we go. 04 to 02, 06 is 0430 is 1.5. And then you go 09 to 1030 is another 1.5. So even with the scrambled mess that my sleeping's been in today, well, let's put it this way, I've still only slept 5 hours. Which gives you an idea how off kilter things might be. But hopefully your guys' day is going well. Now, I do have to call that up, it would seem. Especially given the situation I'm looking at. Let's see, if we pull that up. Okay. Pull the other screen up. Okay. Oh, by the way, YJ, you came in with the bronze, and then we have Adam showing up with the honorable mention. Okay, what am I looking for? I don't want this here. Just calling up the other screen, so I can actually see what's being written. Makes it easier. Okay. Yeah, I figured calling this impromptu was about as accurate as it was going to get. Guys, well, let's face it. I wasn't planning on it. Oh, what do we got here? Okay. Yeah, exactly. In all fairness, YJ, it really does. But I still figured I best be getting in. Oh, I can tell you from practical experience, Nathan, at least from my standpoint, I absolutely would rather eat family stuff than critical health issues. But how we doing there, Eris? I did not notice you come in. Do not take offense to that, please. What do we got here? YJ's just going after massive CME the other day. We really dodged a bullet because it went the other direction. I have no doubt that I haven't seen the Northern Lights literally in decades myself, but then I haven't been anywhere near them, much less outside much. Grandmaster, how you doing? Hope your day's been going well. Yeah, there was one point years ago when I was still just a young teenager. I was living on the island. Not only did I get the pleasure of seeing the Northern Lights, but I managed to actually I actually had the enjoyment of hearing them. Mr. L, welcome aboard. Figured I'd drop back in and let people know I wasn't actually dead. Although my trust in certain people is. Not to worry, guys. I still find this one of the best places to wind down if I can. And I do have, and this is really inconsequential to most people, I do have a wonderful little piece of news, at least from my standpoint. Back before my stroke in 2018, I used to actually play Skyrim a fair amount, and I got a little bit carried away with it on occasion. But when I had my stroke, I ended up losing my ability to use my left hand properly. Okay. The fantastic news from my standpoint, my left hand is now working to the point I can actually play Skyrim again, which I'm not sure if that's a good thing. So I managed to do that, and I need this other neat little issue here. I require, do I have it up already? No. Okay, well, then we have to bring it up. Close that, minimize that for a moment. Minimize a whole pile of things like this. This is just normal. I've got like 17 documents up, I think. Or at least that's what it seems like. Races of the world. I have to go through this list and see what I've got. See what's been done. Oh, where did it go today? There we are. Okay. One of the things I came back, because I figure I'm working on the computer, which is why, in this case, I'm looking up above as well. But, turned around, I figure I'm getting down to the last few races that I have to deal with before I can put Races of the Worlds to print. So I figured I'd best be taking a look at this and see what I got left. And of course, I don't have a pen with me. Now, is that not always the case in my world? Lazarus, how you doing? Glad you could join us. I didn't exactly plan this one. I just got thinking I had to do a bunch of work, and I'm not going to be able to come on at 4:30 today. So I figured I'd pop in and just let people know I was actually surviving. Now, if we take this, where are we? That's what I need. Hey, Henry, how you doing? Yeah, I remember an old show called It's Alive or They Live, one of the two. I think they're both the same sort of an idea. Yeah, no doubt. Like, I mean, when you think about it there, YJ, the Northern Lights are one of those things. If you get the chance to ever sit outside and watch them, even better if you get an opportunity to listen to them. Oh, yeah. I got to get a number of things sorted around, but considering the broadside I got hit with, um, I'm just going back over here. You know, so Adam, you're up in Edmonton. I trust the roads have been reasonably good for you. Let's see if we shrink that down to half size so I can see make sure that my screen is still working. Put that there. And where is Races of the World? Right there. Because all I'm actually looking for here with races is to double check and make sure I've got all the pictures done. Okay, Angelus is done. Anunnaki, the Arborean, the Archon. There's the Arcturon, the Aura, the Berondi. I'm putting a list together actually for the next set that I have to deal with. That's kind of interesting there, Adam. You know, you cross a border and all of a sudden the roads change state. Makes you wonder sometimes. I will tell you, Nathan, don't work too hard today, eh? Mind you, in all fairness, I'm not entirely certain you know how to work too hard. Okay, where are we here? Scroll down. We have the Cheechak. We have the Chitwari. Ah, best be getting that one done. Damon is still necessary. I know I just got a few extras in that I shouldn't, and I should call those up just on principle. Let's see if this doesn't scramble something badly. I think I'm getting a few too many things open here, so I best be careful on that. Let us take a look at downloads. Just taking a look here. I should have drinks down here. Oh, maybe they're not still sitting in downloads. Which is a distinct possibility. Yeah, I'm just looking at what's going on here, and it is amazing how much activity we get. I wish that would actually show me. Let us see here. Okay, let's go back up and see what we got in art, see if that works. Go on desktop, go to 2022, and go to art. Because this will tell me if I've got anything more. Row. Gotta get that sorted out again, apparently. But what do we got here? Okay, let's just do it the other way. Yeah, I wonder, Adam, if people realize that that just because it's safe for you doesn't necessarily mean it's really safe for everybody else. That doesn't actually surprise me there, YJ. I've been telling people that for decades. That man, um, number one, mankind, not necessarily knights, but humans were around when the dinosaurs were. What do I got here? I'm going to just not blow that up. Take this, bring that up so I can read. Okay. Oh, mankind did. It's just that, the reality was the mankind adapted better than what the dinosaurs did. Well, let's face it. Let's face it, Adam. When you're looking at a cattle hauler, the last thing you want to do is dump the load. I mean, it's bad enough dumping your truck, but killing everybody else is also a bit of a problem. Hey, Potemkin, how you doing? Yeah, it honestly wasn't a health issue on my part, at least not initially. It boiled down to family concerns and school issues that had to be dealt with. But I figured my throat's actually doing not bad right now. It was really tied up this morning. I didn't even think I was going to get on today, but figured I know I won't be able to get on this afternoon. So I figured I better pop in and let people know I wasn't actually dead. Okay, and no, much as I got annoyed, I'm certainly not suicidal by any functional stretch. As a friend of mine put it, pity help the world if I do get suicidal, or at least the local neighborhood. Because the reality is, I'm not interested in dying anytime soon. Okay, so we have the dwarves are done. So the next batch I'm looking at, unless I find otherwise, is the Daemon and the Drake I've got to get done, but I think I've got the Drakes done. I just have to find them. Earth Elemental, Fire Elemental, and I do have, actually, I will warn you of this, guys. I have found out the actual names of a couple of these races that weren't listed in the first printing, because I just didn't know what to call them. So I had to go with a reference point. Where are we? That's the water. There's the Elfid, the Etwari, the Fairy, the Gorgon, which was a change not change rather. When I first put races of the worlds together, I called them Gorgon. And boy, did I get flack from it the other day. It's actually Gorgon, as in Gorgan. They are still the same way. I would love that there, YJ. If you can send me the image, I am hopefully eventually going to figure out how to, that was really poor English, figure out how to actually take a picture and turn it into my screen, into my desktop. And let's face it, the Northern Lights definitely say it all. So I mean, I'm looking at this like, what have we got there? That's the Gorgon. The Gron are already done. The Gray Scientists and the Controllers, which, by the way, the Greys refer to themselves as Zeta Reticulum, which I get a real kick out of. I saw somebody else, and they painted such a horrendous picture. It was just bizarre. We have the picture for the Halon, the Hookah. My apologies, that's the Uka. H is silent. Humans, the Untars, there's the Kleeklok, the Kamalians, both classes. the Korlock, the Boreans, the Martokians. There's the Muldocs. As you can see, we've done pretty solid. These are all ones I've done already. Kimberly, how you doing? Glad you enjoy. Glad you enjoy. No, I read that at the same time. Glad you arrived. Hope things are going well for you. Absolutely there, Nathan. You stay safe out there, eh? And there's the Merfolk. The Mobians, I'm pretty certain I've got them. Naga, I don't have. So they will have to be done. Ones I'm expecting are the Daemon. Where are we? Don't have the Naga, so they will be in the next batch I work with. These are ones I'm certain I don't have. Haven't moved the Nord yet. There's the Wara. How you doing there, Raven? I really came into this today very impromptu. I figure I'm not going to be able to make it on tonight, so I best get in here and let people know I hadn't up and dropped dead. So I do hope things are going well on your end. And there we have the Wara. I don't think we've got the Orions done. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I should have the Orions done already. I just got to go find them. And the Pleiadians. The Quaddle I know I haven't done yet. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, 3. That's 3 out of 5 that I need, that I'm certain I need. There's the Kinlar, the Rarka, and I don't think I've got the Rarka. So I will have to take a look at that. Don't know about the Roche or the Shadow Walkers. Strazazians are right there. Then we have the Talon, which we still don't have drawn, but I may have them already. Tormenon are in place. There's the Teklek. And we have Terrian Tropes, which there is a different name coming for them. I'm still working out the specifics from them. But getting a hold of these guys is a real pain in the neck, especially trying to find them without their mouth full. And there's the Taurian that are in full regalia there. And the Venusians are already done. There's the Verozic. Vegans I know I haven't dealt with yet, so I should get those to them. There's the Vulcans, the Watchers I don't think I've done, I'm not sure. The Xenon, the Zeron, the Zotar, and the Zerziks. And that would be the end of book 1. Most of those I've already got. How we doing there, Jenny? Sorry to disappear for so long there, but life got in the way. I had things I had to deal with my family, with my son for school, and with my brother regarding me. So, but am I health-wise, am I okay? The answer is yeah. So if any of you were hoping I had dropped dead, sorry, didn't get to number 11 yet. So now what I'm looking for is just to find the, I know where to find it all. If I go back up in here, I can go into there, and we take a look at, where the heck is he? Chris. Oh, bonus. Wonder if they're sitting right here. Okay, how's that for wonderful? We do actually now have the Drake, and you're going to love these. Well, probably not. Now, you got to remember when you do get a look at the Drake, and because of the fact there's no way I can print them off yet, simply because I haven't figured that part of it out. But I've got the picture already done for them. As soon as I figure out how to start posting them, I will. What do we got here? YJ is asking, well, let me bring that up so I can actually read that properly. YJ is asking, are there any non-humans around here that have the capacity or desire to pose as gods? If they felt they had the opportunity, would they ever go against the consortium and just try to take the planet? That's actually a rational question there, YJ. The answer to that, though, is there is no doubt the Ennead and the Nords absolutely have this ego thing going where mankind's already identified them as gods. And yet, if they had the opportunity, they undoubtedly would. Or more to the point, they come down, occupy, and let you guys give them all the stuff they wanted. The reason they won't is because right now with the consortium sitting there, if any race jumps in and says, hey, we're your gods, so bow down and worship us. Okay, the consortium would not only take them off this planet, they would destroy the planet that their primary government is seated on, their secondary government, and their tertiary. And I'm not talking about taking them over. I'm talking about blowing them up. Okay, this is one of the things that we really have to keep in mind here. The consortium essentially is neutral. It's not here to protect humans. It's here to protect Esau, the planet herself. But absolutely, just like there are some humans that seem to think they are gods and everybody should bow down to them, there are off-worlders that absolutely will look at the world and go, yeah, this is what I'm aiming for. I think I should be worshipped. I think people should hand me everything. In my case, ouch, that hurt like a dickens. Do not make the mistake of dislocating a finger while you're sitting here. It's just not a good thought. Yeah. There has been, I'll tell you, YJ, like YJ's just saying, there's recently been some talk from higher ups of a mothership sitting a ways off planet that potentially responsible for a lot of the ET presence. In all fairness, they're not actually responsible for it. They are simply governing it. Raven, I suspect that's another name for the same people. The easiest way to answer that is with the Galactarian Council. How many are seated on the council? That would be the first thing that I'd have to ask. Because it may be the same. I know a lot of the names I know by different names than what other people do. But then you got to remember, you yourself may be obviously, well, I believe you're female. Therefore you could be a mother, a daughter, a sister, a grandmother, a cousin. Get the idea. Not only that, but my understanding is that way back in Japan. Hey Nathan, how you doing? Oh, there you go. Nathan's just popping in for a sec, or still driving, one of the two. My understanding was that way back, Japan used to refer to itself as Nippon. Okay, so they called themselves the Nipponese. We call them Japanese. Okay. So, ultimately, that's what you're looking at. We might be dealing with the same thing. I know years ago, and I've lost track of where the government document is, I was sent a document on a lot of different races that the government has that, frankly, from my standpoint, I don't know them by the same names. Of course, governments have an interesting tendency of calling races by species 109-A2. I don't know. It's really kind of weird. You look at human governments doing that. Okay. You look at the humans doing that, and I immediately compare that to the Borg, who that's how they always referenced everything, is a number. Okay. I do my best to find out either, and I am putting this in the front of Race of the Worlds in the second printing. Hey Shadow, how you doing? Glad you could join us. I am indicating one thing I'm adding to Race of the Worlds is whether this is their actual name as I know it, a name that I had to piece together for reference points, or whether it is simply a generic. Okay, it's just that simple. Because like I said, when I first put this one out, okay, it was done to get the information out. But there is so much more I'm sitting on. Here, I'll show you something really neat. This will give you an idea. Not there. Just move this out of the way. This will give you an idea of what I'm looking at. Get that moved. This is only about half the stack of notes that I've got. Okay, that I'm going through. Like I said, I'm not great where it comes to record keeping, so I'm going through them piece at a time to put it all together. So from my standpoint, it really boiled down to an issue of making certain. See if we go back up here, see what we can do. Drag that all the way up. Come back down, figure out where the drakes are. Yeah, of course. Oh, by the way, just a little point here, and this is why I'm working on this right now. It was just a question of dropping in here and talking to you guys, or just letting you know I'm still breathing anyway. But when I did Races of the Worlds in the first place, Races of the Worlds in the first place was done to get the information out, and I knew I didn't have everything in place. But when I did it in the first place, it had 64 pages. 59 races I personally had dealt with, 64 pages of information. Now that I'm enhancing it, I've only gone through the first 20 pages, I think, and we are already up to 84 pages of information, including pictures. So now it's a question of just making certain that I can get it all sorted around. Let's see, go back to that file, and that should be where to get it from. If we go to downloads, no, don't want to. Actually, that probably is what I want to do. Those are PDFs, which is not what I require. Just trying to figure out where the actual picture is. I have a staggering amount of stuff sitting in my download file, which is where part of the problem is. Should be right near the bottom, I'm suspecting. Where are we here? Yeah, we're going to have fun with that, it would seem. Now, that file, RKA, oh, that's why, 2023. That might be why. So let us take a look under that. No, I want to go to this file. Go back up to RK. Amazing, if you look for the right file, you might just find what you're aiming for. Let's see, that's T, that doesn't help. Whoa. Yeah, it looks like I'm going to have a lot of fun trying to piece this all together, but I know I've got them, so that's always a plus. Ah, there we are. We have RKA. Drake, where are you? Terranthrope, Gorgon, Laborian, Martokian, Water Elemental. Okay, what was that? Bring that back up. Yep, that's the one I need. Arcane. Okay. Yeah, I drifted off a little there, but like I said, this was a question of making certain people knew I was actually still breathing. Arcade 220, 2023 2. Okay, so if it's 2023 2. I do not like having to try and find things the hard way, but what the heck? That seems to be normal from my end. Those are all different stuff. Tell you, I have no idea how many files I've got here, but this is one of the reasons I've been going through it. Oh, whatever you do, be careful on that run there, Adam. I mean, they tell me breaking a window. No, that's breaking a mirror is bad luck. Right. Hopefully the same, but in your case, let's just keep it safe while you're out there. Okay, well, apparently I'm not going to find it the way I want to, so I'm just going to quit looking for it that way and see if I can do it this way. See if we can copy the image and get it moved where I need it. So let's just see if that works. Put that there. We go paste and see what comes up. And apparently that did not work as well as I would have liked. There it is. Well, that's always a plus. Now, what do we got going on here? Now that I found that one and figured out how to do it, let us go back to that, and I can see what's written. Okay. Oh, no, I think some part of Lord of the Rings was actually filmed up that end, but I'm honestly not entirely certain. Nice packing on the windows on that one, Adam. Like really nice packing. I've seen things. I remember going with just a little bit of pop in the trunk, and getting there and having the whole case just blown, which really made it rough to drink the pop. But at least it didn't smell like a brewery. No, it's funny. I'm sure you'll appreciate this one. This one, all of you guys that are, as they say, truckers. I'm sure you'll like this. In the Yldrbac Chronicles, I actually included a group of truckers we refer to as the Bully Brigade. Okay, which gives you an idea of their attitude towards bullies. But some of the rigs are absolutely, well, let's just say they would not be road legal. Never mind the weaponry on them. Okay, let us see if I can do something with this. Let's shrink that down a little so we can actually get a picture of it. Okay, what do we got here? Gonna have to blow that up to actually see what I'm working with. And the first thing we do is take that, put it to there so the paperwork goes around it. And of course, can't do much there. Yeah. Well, absolutely there, Shadow, and that's the whole thing. So many people forget that, yeah, we all like, everybody likes their little trinkets and their little doodads. But realistically, who gets them there? And this is the thing so many people forget. Okay, that is not a good setup. So we are going to have to take a look at that. Shut that down without saving it because it didn't do anything. That dumps that out of the picture. Now, what do we got here? Well, that's not bad. Where are we? Let's quit playing around on that because it just gets me totally sidetracked. And needless to say, it doesn't exactly work well. But hey, Chris, how you doing? Glad you could join us. This was very much an impromptu broadcast. But the reality, from my standpoint, is I figured I'd miss 2 or 3 days, and I better at least come on and let people know I wasn't actually dead. Can't say I haven't slept a lot. Well, I could, but I figured I better come on and go, yeah, I'm still breathing here. Things are still coming together. It's just school things for my son and family issues for me became a bit of a pressing issue. Now I gotta ask Chris, I have no idea what you just put in there. What you just put in the chat room. Well, that's just it, YJ. I couldn't agree with you more. I find it absolutely appalling that, the truckers that are actually supporting our society, quite frankly, around the world. You should see what take a look up. I mean, thanks for clarifying that. Not a problem there, Chris. No, I mean, I find it absolutely appalling with the way that truckers are being told, oh, you shouldn't get that much money. These people, whoever is telling you that, has not looked at the cost of running it. Okay. They just haven't looked at the cost of running a vehicle. And every time they jack the price on gas, it punches a hole in the trucker's ability to get the food out. Now, from my standpoint, I like having my food here. Absolutely. Absolutely there, YJ. And these geniuses, oh Lord, speaking of geniuses, somebody actually posted the other day on Facebook. Flat Earth, the flat earthers are so, the whole flat Earth society community is so outdated. We don't agree with that at all. We've now got a hot dog shaped Earth. And I looked at this, my son turned around and said, Keith, he goes, Dad, that's a joke. I went, well, that's good. Otherwise, IQs had dropped incredible. But no, I mean, I was absolutely amazed. My son went out for work experience just last couple of weeks here. And for the first time in my life, well, in his life, really, he came home absolutely excited to have been working on a farm, doing just the normal run-of-the-mill, farm work. And there's nothing wrong with it. I grew up on a small farm, on a hobby farm, but my son was absolutely excited about the fact that he was out working on the farm. I thought it was just fantastic. Oh, where is it? Right here. Gotta get this thing open. Because Shadow, we made an addition, and I've got to go back into the book and actually alter it, which I should make note of while I'm thinking of it. You back over there. The subterranean lizards that I've got in the Return to Paradise has been adjusted. Now, you guys saw this, okay? You guys saw the fact it was totally black. What you haven't seen is we modified the back of him now. And my painting is nothing to write nice things home about. Yeah, Chris just going, yeah, I really wish I could, but there are so many people, like I have problems with technology to start with. Chris is just saying you got to get this air to the roots, and I would love to. Brian, right now we are sitting at, what are we sitting at here? Yeah, we're down. We dropped a couple of people, which makes sense. Okay, I'm not worried about it. We're still sitting at 478. But then, like, even I was even told one day that no, the people didn't believe I was crazy, but they did tell me point blank, the way you talk is crazy. I mean, it was funny. I bit my tongue on it, which is amazing, but I didn't want to cause a problem for my son. Yes, we absolutely were. The reality there, Chris, is what people forget about the basic trades, the farming, farming, your agriculture, your truckers doing the delivery, these basic run-of-the-mill things that we have to, that we really have to take a look at. Okay, these are the things that actually keep society running. If they weren't there, if you think starvation is bad now, you should try what it would be like. Well, no, you really shouldn't. But if you think starvation is bad now, we take the farmers and truckers out of it, and we are absolutely a shambles. I was talking to one guy the other day, or more to the point, talking about one guy the other day. Only one farmer is being forced to dump because there is now apparently a quota of milk that dairy farmers are allowed to deal with. I appreciate that, Jenny. I mean, the reality is, I was looking at this guy, and apparently a cow is only permitted to produce so much milk now, and you can only sell so much milk. The rest of it has to be dumped. Now, this was from a dairy farmer, just one. And apparently, this dairy farmer was dumping because he was legislated he had to. He was dumping 150 gallons of fresh milk on the ground because, oh my gosh, we are going to legislate everything now. This is brilliant. Let's tell the cow they can't produce milk anymore. Okay, I'm not certain how that's going to work. They tried that with the bumblebee. Angels, how you doing? Glad you could join us. I'm looking at this. Mankind is trying to, number one, they're trying to legislate how nature works. I don't know what they're going to do about Tornado Alley. Tell tornadoes they're not allowed to go through that area anymore. I absolutely agree with you there, YJ. It's used to make cheese to, it's just absolutely insane. But then again, we've got people now yelling and complaining because of the name. I mean, I heard of one complaint. It offends people when you call something. It offends a certain group of people when you refer to something called blacktop, because calling it blacktop is offensive. How absolutely stupid is the human race really going to get? There's a chance. Now, I can understand in a manner of speaking, if we're talking about raising them, but if you're trying to sell them and they're telling you have to pay a higher fee, this is just absolutely bizarre. I could not agree with you more there. The sad part is when people, that's to you, Henry. People have come to the conclusion that we are making laws to accommodate a very few number of people and totally ignoring the bigger picture. YJ just going, our political system is missing the ability for the general public to force a referendum. Well, and I'm certainly not going to go down, not on this channel. I agree a lot with the conflicts people have in politics, but I have made it a very definitive point of not getting in on that, weighing in on that. There are a couple of topics I'm not going to bother with here. That being one of them, and one of the primary reasons for it is, quite seriously, my views are very radical compared to some people, but much more importantly, in my eyes, I get into a topic like that on here, and there is a very high probability that I get shut down. To me, it's not worth the risk. But the human race as a whole has got to pull their head together and go, okay, look, you cannot legislate nature. I was talking to one lady a number of years back. She had been diagnosed with Lyme disease. Now, according to the doctor, there was no way she could have Lyme disease because Lyme disease does not exist in Canada. Now, I think somebody forgot to tell the mosquitoes. Because my understanding is it's mosquitoes that imported, and they don't pay an import tax. So I mean, we're looking at these things like, okay, one small group is unhappy, so let's make a law against it. And I'm thinking this is the tail wagging the dog. Okay. But I was absolutely amazed yesterday at my son at the meeting I had to go to with my son, because in this meeting they asked for what are questions you would like answers to, and I had to bite my tongue, because the first example they gave in this educational meeting, okay, was quite literally, do UFOs exist? The second one was, are there other races on this planet other than humans? Number 3, what is Loch Ness? What is the Loch Ness monster? Now you can see why I bit my tongue. I mean, I'm sitting here going, if this is the way the meeting's going to go, this should be easy if it weren't for the number of people there. You know, the reality of it is, I appreciate that, YJ. You know, well, that's just it. Where are we? Oh, it was absolutely bizarre. It was supposed to, because as you guys well know, my son has a mild case of CP. His left arm and left leg do not work right. So this was a meeting to deal with, because he's 18. He'll be 9. He'll be 18 in a couple of weeks here. But he's got transition into full adulthood by the time he's 19. And this was at the meeting regarding transition. And I'm going like, okay, I better bite my tongue. I did tell my son, I said, if you want answers to that, just ask. I'll give them to you. I mean, it was just a weird setup. The rest of the meeting was all about politics and all about how they couldn't really be specific about anything, right? Which, shock of shocks. So I mean, from my standpoint, it's like, okay, hey Christy, how you doing? Glad you could join us. I have one son that is just about to turn 18. He's got mild CP. The other one is 25. My eldest son, and the only two I've got, is 25. But he's a professional cook right now. It's neat. He went into cooking as a profession, got in there, was there for a number of years, and went, nope, not happy with it. So as far as I understand it from him, he's going to be going after a psychology degree. Good luck with that. YJ, there's something you got to keep in mind. Okay, like YJ's just talking about, in regards to Togopogo, Loch Ness, etc. I know what I saw, and I definitely didn't expect anyone to believe me. But I do intend to put some effort in to actually prove it. I think I can. Well, I'll have to take your word for that one, Shadow. Shadow goes, cue the Doors album. I'm not honestly certain. In all fairness, Raven, I am not a history buff. I remember a lot of history, but as a friend of mine put it, I remember it firsthand, and I wasn't there when he was murdered. Matter of fact, I'm not even certain I was alive when he was murdered. I'd have to check the times I was alive and whenever it happened, because I don't have total memory. But there are days when I've got more than what I would like. But if anybody in the chat room actually knows when Caesar was murdered, or when they're chalking it up to, at least, Absolutely. If you want to post it, that'd be great. I'm just going to do something here that I might be able to pull off. Well, the answer to your question, Raven, yes. I just went on to the net here, and I just looked it up. Yeah, I did it the same way, which is really amazing. Most of the time, I can't find what I'm looking for. But the reality of it is, pick a day, don't matter. The fact of the matter is, we are dealing with something that was, yes, it had a terrible impact, depending on who you talk to. I can think of 4 different lifetimes that I had in Rome. One as a peasant, one as a soldier, one as a young senator, and one as a gladiator. Okay, and that wasn't back to back, right? Although they had to be awful close together. But no, I was looking at that, YJ. Where comes Ogopogo? Something you do have to take into consideration. My brother figured it out, and either of these things are absolutely forever lasting, as it were. Okay, which is possible. Crocodiles don't die of old age. Yeah, we cannot argue with you there, Shadow. It definitely had an impact on Caesar's life. YJ's going, my idea is to simply replicate the timing and location of where I observed it, set up a few cameras, both above and below the water, and create a commotion that simulates its food source. Kind of like fishing. Let us see here. Just gonna double check something. Whoop. There we go. Okay. The Ides, in answer to your question there, Henry. The Ides in the ancient Roman calendar was roughly the middle of each month. Okay. What does it translate to? I'm just looking it up literally. Okay, yeah, the Ides, what was the original meaning of the word Ides? The first new moon of a given month. There you go. That's what the Ides was. It's amazing, if I go back 5 years, I couldn't find a menu on the internet, a local menu on the internet. Now I can actually find stuff I'm looking for. There are, now I cannot prove this, YJ, but there are underground channels leading from all the way from the Okanagan Lake all the way to the Pacific Ocean that have big enough channels in them for Ogopogo to get through. Now, bear in mind, Ogopogo itself, I am a firm believer, is long-necked plesiosaur. The Loch Ness Monster is either a short-necked plesiosaur or possibly an elasmosaur. In either event, they're all all of them are dinosaurs that are still here. Okay. That's so. I mean, absolutely, if you can prove it, great. The only problem with it, from my standpoint, the moment you prove it's real, some genius is going to come along and go, oh, we got to put that on our wall. Like that wonderfully intelligent dentist from years ago that decided to kill the last female black rhino. Now, the funny thing is, I look at sport hunting, i.e., I want to go out and mount this animal's head on my wall just to prove how much of a man I am. Now, before you jump to conclusions, hear the rest of this, if you will, because I am 100% in favor of true sport hunting. But here's why. Okay, let's take a grizzly bear, for instance. You want to go out, you want to hunt down a grizzly bear, and all you want to do is take its head off and put the head on the wall and say, I'm a man, I'm a big man, and look at me, whoa. No problem. You want to do that? That's easy. We give you football armor because a grizzly bear clearly has more, clearly has thicker hide than you do. So we'll even the score a little for you. But you're getting a spike club. That's it. You bring that sucker down, be my guest, cut the head off and hang it on the wall. Okay, then it becomes an equal fight. Okay, same thing applies to the idea of if you want to bring down a cheetah. Absolutely. I'll give you a motorcycle because there ain't no way you're keeping up to that thing. Okay, but you don't get a gun, you don't get armor, you get a knife. Now, if you can bring that down, you want to hang the hide on your wall, that's your business. Okay, but this is just, I mean, like I said, I've got a bit of a twisted outlook on certain things. But then you guys know that anyway. Yeah, I've never been up to Dawson. But no, I mean, I get a kick out of the idea of what people. Well done, Adam. Glad you are moving in safely. Now remember, you stay off the sidewalks, you won't run into half as many cars. Correction, you stay off the roads and on the sidewalks. But yeah, I'm a firm believer. Thank you so much, Jenny. There are ways of accommodating people with genius ideas. There really are. I mean, there was one individual I know of down in California, not in California, down in Australia, and I could not believe what she had done. Okay, now I can only speculate. You guys get to speculate yourself. This was a woman that legally changed her name from whatever it was to legally it is called, she is now known as female. That's her name. Now, I don't know, there seems to be something a little off kilter. Oh, Shadow, I agree with you. The animal would absolutely have a superior advantage. Matter of fact, that's what I'm counting on. Okay. It's like when people talk about going back to the old ways. I don't have a problem with the idea of going back to the old ways. Okay. There's a part of me that looks at it and goes, one good old-fashioned subquantum EMP pulse, and we would be in the Dark Ages. And then people that really think that the Dark Ages was a wonderful time frame would find out just how off-kilter it was. But I mean, I look at this going, if you're going to go sport hunting, if you go out and play sports, you're on equal ground, relatively equal ground with your opponent. Well, the reality is, I don't know about you, but I've yet to see a bear pack around a gun or a bow and arrow or a spear or anything else. They are close combat. And they do not have, my dad used to say, if you're going after a grizzly, and Dad did have to hunt them on occasion. Good afternoon, football. Glad you could join us. You did have to take a look at it. and go, my dad looked at it and said, with a grizzly, once you kill the grizzly, you may have to let it know it's dead because it doesn't seem to register. It keeps coming. So, I've got things going, like there are things happening that I look at going, if you guys would think for just a nanosecond, we wouldn't have the problem. Okay, it's bizarre to me the way people are behaving right about now. I ended up with one of the most bizarre dreams last night. Never had one this bad before. But, and I'm not going to go into the long story of it. I am going to document it in a little while. But I literally woke up from a dream this morning where there was 4 little dogs, and when I mean little, I mean Dachshund, Pekingese, Pug, and Pomeranian. They were all sitting on the floor while their owners were playing cards. We're playing poker and drinking beer and what have you. And there was these 4 dogs talking to each other about the whole situation. I have never had a dream like this in my past, right? Or who knows about my future. But these 4 dogs are laying there talking to each other, while the humans are sitting there playing poker and drinking. And all of a sudden it turned sideways and the little dog started howling, right? And next thing I knew, the dogs are trying to get out. So one of the owners gets up and opens the door. 4 massive dogs, a Rottweiler, a Pit Bull, a Doberman Pinscher, and a German Shepherd, dive into the room, come into the room, pin down the 3 of the people or corner them, and the 4th one, who is daily beating the daylights out of his dog, got torn to pieces. Then the big dogs left, and the little dogs ended up climbing up on top of the table, right, and got into the beer that had been spilled. And we're pushing the cards around. Clearly, they weren't reading the cards, but they were commenting about, see, now we get to sit up here, drink beer, and play cards, right? It was just absolutely bizarre. Yeah, and in a lot of ways, that was the way it was. This is why, you think about it. If we go back to the original so-called First Nations, they had the idea that you killed what you required and everything else you left alone. If you were cutting a tree down, pay attention to what that landscape is going to look like in 150 years, 7 generations roughly. Okay, in today's world, whether you are white, Indian, East Indian, Japanese, so-called First Nations, doesn't matter. People go, let's clear cut this area and totally forget everything else, right? Or let's dig a strip mine here and totally forget about the locality. What am I looking at here? Yeah. Yeah, people used to actually think in terms of getting along with the environment. Okay. Myself, I don't have the capacity to it at this point. You take me out in the bush, you better be sending somebody after me afterwards, because I'm not coming home. Not because I don't want to come home, but because I have no idea how to get there. Absolutely, they did, Jenny. Unfortunately, the modern generation does not. Okay, and I know that upsets some people, but they don't. The reality is, when I look at it, like it floors me when I open the door for somebody and they go, "What are you opening the door for me for?" I'm thinking it's called courtesy. Yeah, YJ's just written, where, Shadow, what did you say? Probably not, Shadow. It's funny, Shadow, most of the dreams I have, I wake up with a bloodbath feeling very relaxed. As in, I wake up, I've got a body count from hell, right? Which may give you an idea of why some of the fights in here are, to say the least, a little on the graphic side. Okay, I'll be working more on that today. I just figured that I should pop in here. I appreciate that, Henry. The sad part of it is mankind has got to start looking to, I've always held, that's it. Let's stop that thought and go this way. Welcome to my mind. You don't want to walk around in that. See, the neat part about it is I look at it and go, if what you're doing, if you can stand up and comfortably say, I did this, okay, to whoever you're talking to, with some obvious exceptions, if you can stand up and proudly say, this is what I did, then by all means, buckle down and do it. But if what you're doing is going to either be something you don't want the law to know about or you don't want other people to know about, don't do it in the first place. I do look like I've stuck my finger in a light socket today, don't I? I'm referring to the way my hair is right now. But it's been a rough 3 days here. But, I keep telling my other half when she wakes up, she says, I'm really groggy. And well, grab a fork and a light socket. And people, that is a joke. Keep your forks out of your freaking light sockets. Okay. I don't know about you, but I've been electrocuted often enough by accident. I don't need to stick my foot in my mouth that way. Friend of mine tried the other option. He's been hit twice with a lightning bolt. Of course, he jokes about it. He goes, well, they say lightning never strikes in the same place twice. He says, I wasn't in the same place. So I'm just looking at the way the world is running right now and going, I've got to piece things together to see what I can do to survive it. I figure if the world goes to heck in a handbasket overnight, or if somebody decides they're going to drop a bomb, somebody want to pass on my address? Because the way I look at it, if somebody's going to drop a bomb, it'd be really handy if they just did that. Pick my address. I don't feel like picking up the mess again. It's just not one of those things I'm looking forward to. Hey, Bones, how you doing? Glad you could join us. I vanished for a 3 days here because, well, I had family stuff I had to deal with and the timing was all wrong. I wasn't actually expecting on being on here today at all. Okay. But I figured there's no way I'm going to make it on for tonight. I'm probably not going to be on here much longer. But I've got another thing I've got to deal with for my son. So I figured, what the heck? Well, I'm sure there's more than one. There's more than one missile that's handy. The reality is, Raven, I've seen. Let's face it. I was here for the cleanup of the Exodus from Egypt, from from Sodom and Gomorrah, from the Great Flood, from Pompeii, from Manoah. I was here in World War I. Okay. I was here during the Battle of Hastings. I was here during the Spanish Inquisition. I spent a lot of time watching a lot of societies collapse. I was even here, mind you, it was profitable. I was also here for the actual Black Death. Well, that's just it, Shadow. I mean, I look at that going, it's an idea, but frankly, from my end, the reality is, yes, I think differently than most. I was just told the other day. Well, like I mentioned, it set me off rather badly. One guy flat out told me I was rude and uncivilized. Another one told me that he didn't think I was crazy, but he said the way you talk does make you sound crazy. And then promptly tried doing all sorts of neat little things I had to put the kibosh on. No, it was a purge. In all fairness, that was literally well, yeah, that might be an idea there, Shadow. No, Sodom and Gomorrah was an airburst. Okay. And it wasn't only, by the way, it was not just 3 people that got out of it. Okay, there were a lot of people that ran. Okay, they just focused on 3, as in history focused on 3. You know, but no, and they were, the fact of the matter is that the people of Sodom and Gomorrah were told either stop being this stupid and this self-centered and destructive, or we're going to cure the problem. Now the thing is, Sodom and Gomorrah were not the only cities around. Okay. Well, from a human standpoint, you'd have called it a nuclear blast. You'd have called it a neutron bomb. Okay. What it really boiled down to was blowing one up over top with the thermal with a thermal component, but without the radiation. Okay, it just cooked the whole place. But it's because they were told, look, you are going down a path that is going to lead to destruction, and you guys are the major cities in the area. So we're taking a look at you, the head of the snake, as it were. So it really boiled down to an issue of either get your act together, or we're going to make an example and let all the other cities around you know that this is not the way to behave. Well, they didn't get their act together. Okay. No, the Anunnaki, by the time that happened, the Anunnaki were long gone. Okay. This was actually authorized by the consortium, but it was the Angelus that came in. The Angelus were the ones that came down with the message. Okay. They came down and said, people, smarten up, knock it off, or there's going to be heck to pay. And they put it in a slightly different fashion. But no, the Anunnaki were long gone by the time that Sodom and Gomorrah came around. But it was an ordered termination. Cannot exactly call it an execution, because they did not pick out one individual. They literally took the entire 2 cities and just wiped them out. But they had enough warning that there weren't it wasn't just 3 people that got out alive. Okay. Did they have the one that turned into salt? Absolutely. But that's because she got dehydrated like that. Okay. The thing is, did she stand there as a pillar? Well, only if you consider the pillar was only about yay tall. Okay, and in all fairness, a lot of that had more to do with clothing than anything else. But she was just absolutely evaporated, as it were. Here's a sidetrack for you. I don't think you can quite read that, but that's 1979, and that says Betty and Bill, P&E, 1976. Sorry. Okay, that was something that my parents had done down at the P&E. That's called a complete sidetrack on you. The reality is I've thought about it. I've thought about it, Raven. And, once I get through the other 36 I'm in the middle of writing, it may be another one I'm working on. I've had to start documenting other things as well. I'm going to be hard pressed to get everything written that I've been sitting on. But, the fact of the matter is 99% of it goes against what everybody's been told. Okay. They've been trying to straighten out the mess for people. It goes so far against what most people realize. Oh, nobody said that the off-worlders were perfect there, Raven. What it boiled down to was this. Even back then, the consortium looked at it and went, if they continue down this path, they are going to destroy. And they were looking at extrapolating what they were doing. They are going to destroy mankind. They are going to destroy Earth itself. Okay, so they turned around and said, "No, we're not doing that. We're not letting that happen." Now, I did that a little backwards, by the way. When I talk about the consortium authorizing it, I should say they condoned it after the fact and then said to knock it off. The Angelis pulled it off. Okay, much like the Nords came in and mankind said, "Oh, you guys are gods," and the Nords and the Ennead went, "Okay, bonus, we're gods. That means you give us stuff." Okay, the Angelis have always been extremely passionate about doing things right. Okay, whether it's war, whether it's love, didn't matter. And they do have a bit of a temper. Okay, so again, this was an issue of because the consortium itself showed up right near the end of the Roman Empire. Okay, well they had dropped in on the Ennead. Okay, the Ennead, by the way, were the gods the Egyptians worshipped. Okay, the so-called gods. Okay, the ones that sort of got it right was the so-called First Nations, where they turned to nature and started worshiping the gods of nature. The Angelis are what people see as angels, yes. As a matter of fact, that one I can actually pull off. If we go to art, here we are. This is one of the few pictures I've actually got. This will be in the second printing of the Races of the Worlds. But there you have them. These are the actual Angelis. Okay, or at least as close to it as I could get. So yeah, are they what people call angels? Yeah, they are. They are not all white-winged. Okay, some of them are black-winged. But they're the ones that came down and went, "No, you're not going to continue this way." And then they got reprimanded for it. But, they took a look at it and went, "The way you guys are treating this planet, this is not acceptable." But yeah, that's your Angelis. Okay. When you take a look at some of the other things that have happened, much of our history is riddled with stuff that was not actually reported properly or was kept quiet. Okay. Well, we'll get to that first, and I'll come back to you there. Okay. Where are we here? Jenny's just asking, is there some energy boundary that keeps out what the consortium find unacceptable for access to Earth? No. It's not a barrier. Okay. The consortium, what they do is the reason that the consortium stepped in at all is because Esau herself, as in the Kaboran that is Mother Earth that you're standing on, reached out and said, look, I need help. So they came in to back up Esau. They did not come in to help mankind. Okay. Now, again, with the Angelus had always been in contact with Esau. Okay. And, she asked for help. They did what they do best. They went overboard. Okay. Where are we here? Well, here's the thing. The Nephilim, Shadow, the Nephilim is simply, that literally means gods. Okay. And that's a very long story, but the answer is, in a manner of speaking. Okay. Now, the whole issue around free will and what have you, there was a timing a long time ago when what you would consider when the individual that you would consider God, okay, by any name, doesn't matter to me whether you call it God, Allah, Shiva, call it what you will. Okay. I use the term God because quite frankly it's short and I'm lazy. You can tell because I'm only writing 33 books. I have 36 books right now. Well, I don't doubt that at all, Raven. The problem with Angelus is they actually come equipped with wings. And Raven's just saying wings were often used in art to indicate they came from the sky. The funny part about it is the Angelus didn't have anything against mankind. They had something against the actions that were being permitted to take place. Not a problem there, Shadow. Like I said, a lot of things that I know about. I wouldn't doubt that at all. Like I do not, and the thing I am lacking is I've got virtually no documentation that is provided by outside sources. 99% of my information is firsthand experience and and eyewitness knowledge. There's a lot of people that have a staggering amount of information, and yet they're still doing the same silly things. Okay, and I've got myself into trouble stating my opinion of certain people's viewpoints by going, by referring to them by name. I learned a very, very important lesson some time ago. Names do not exist. Okay, events exist, and the term someone, somebody, that is functional. But names themselves I very seldom use. Where are we here? I keep leaving my mouse in the way. YJ's gonna wonder if the Anunnaki used fake wings to pose as angelic ones. Not a snowball's prayer. The Anunnaki are 15 to 30 feet tall. They'd be hard pressed to look like an angel, even putting wings on them. I mean, if you think about it, if you're 30 feet tall, your wingspan is 90-ish. And besides that, they didn't bother. The Anunnaki were giants. The Nephilim were a whole different ballgame. Okay, they were giants compared to mankind anyway. The Nephilim, see, the one we call God, okay, is the one that actually created Earth. Okay, she not only created Earth, but the moon. Well, they not only created Earth and the moon and Mobius. Okay, there's a number of others, but I honestly haven't talked to her that much about it. I won't argue what it says in Genesis. I haven't read that far yet. What I do know is that when you're looking at that, and it is possible that what they were talking about were the Angelus, because let's face it, the when the daughters of men, when all of that happened, there is a lot that is misstated or ignored. Okay. And that's the other time, I'm not about to, if somebody really wants to go into that, okay, and they want to pull me onto a show or invite me onto a show to go after that. Okay, they're more than welcome to. Will I tangle with it here? No. Okay, but there is a lot from our history that is not represented properly. Okay, at least not from my memories. And of course, then you get the question, well, how can we, somebody asked me one day how I could prove what I know. And I looked at him, I said, and I'm supposed to care why? Actually, my comment was when they asked that, because they were being very derogatory about it. Right. And I looked at him, like the guy literally come out and says, why should I believe what you're saying? And I looked at him and I said, and what makes you think I care? The reality is everybody has their own experiences. Okay. I can tell you this creature, this creature clearly is just a figure. Okay. But the ironic part of it is that it is based on something else. Okay. The neat part about it, there's a lot of things in history that people have said didn't. Generally, yeah, it is. And, I've only read so far as about halfway through Numbers right now. But I did tell my father that I would read it cover to cover. Right. So I did start reading it, and I've got to about halfway through Numbers. But I'm not in a real big hurry. What we got? YJ goes, I wonder if we're looking at these depictions and misinterpreting them. I mean, we have to account for some misinterpretation. But what if we, archaeologists, have it all wrong? Well, let's face it. Mankind believed in dragons. Okay, there's all sorts of stories about dragons. Mankind turned around and said, no, they didn't exist. And about 15 years ago, maybe less, they found in England a reptilian skeleton, complete with a dual nasal channel, one side of which was burned and was absolutely charred black. Okay. Now, with this in mind, you have a dragon. Granted, the one they found was only 8 tall, but my guess is they weren't born 300 feet long. The reality, I will argue we'll debate that one, Henry. We don't actually have it all wrong, but there's been enough taken out of it, enough taken out of our history books to really scramble things. In all likelihood, angels, I do believe they did, because let's face it, can't have proof that dragons are real. But the fact of the matter is that they also said giants were fake. Okay, that were just a myth until they found a skeleton that was like, say, where the skull was the size of a man. Now, this kind of derails the idea that giants are fake, unless you talk to a certain group of archaeologists. They will absolutely look you dead in the eye and tell you dinosaurs are a hoax. They did not exist. Nothing existed before 6,000 years ago. Okay. Now, there are people that, I've talked to people that still believe the world is flat. And as I saw it put one day on, Facebook, it's absolutely impossible for the world to be flat. With so many cats on the world, everything would on the planet, everything would have been knocked off. Yeah, see, when I got my adult teeth, I actually had 38 teeth come in. Right. I had 38 teeth come in. I had 6 incisors back to back on the top and 4 on the bottom. Which was, it did mean I could bite through dang near anything. Like there's a lot of discrepancy that I look at going, I cannot explain it all. I've got a lot of speculation and a lot of circumstantial evidence that'll back it up. But do I have anything that I can physically write down and say, here's the concrete proof for you? In my opinion, it exists, but it also happens to be buried in the military. Well, giants came with all colors of hair. Well, sort of. See, this is what I rely on you guys for. I take it Loch Lake Cave is in Nevada there, Raven, is where they found the giants. From my standpoint, I don't go looking for much. You see me do more research here on the net than I ever do on my own time. I appreciate it. I appreciate the confirmation there, Raven. There are, when we talk about people that have birds' heads, okay, both the Uka and the sure, pull a blank on that one right off the bat. The Uka definitely have a bird's head, what appears to be a bird's head. In all fairness, they're not actually related to birds. But there are so many things that just get brushed under the rug. Like, for instance, modern technology. Okay, I know for a fact because I talked to the guy that invented it. There is a process out there that if you take a cup of the oil sands from the Athabascan tar sands, okay, you run it through his process. It leaves you with a little less than 3/4 of a cup of sandbox fresh sand and about a 1/4 cup of crude oil. And the only runoff is potable water. Now, I know for an absolute certainty, because I met the guy that actually invented it. Okay, I know for a certainty this exists. It's been buried. There is a ceramic engine that has been built that runs on fresh water. I think it runs on fresh water. I know it runs on water. Okay. So and it's been buried. There is so much technology available. Like there was a chap that figured out what is going on with technology in the automotive industry. Every time somebody figures it out and has proof for it, it gets shut down. This is the way it seems to be. It would be entertaining to see one live. The problem is, just looking at Shadow goes, they found tons of giant skeletons all over the world. The ones in Afghanistan and Iraq were some of the most recent. And as in most recently alive. I do know that the giants, the giants we're referring to, the Anunnaki were giants, but they did not stay here, although some of them got left behind. So I mean, these are just some of the things that are coming out in the open. Especially when you start looking, like, it was believed for the longest time that there was no proof of the exodus of Egypt until about 5 years ago, if I recall correctly. They found the remains of the Egyptian army at the bottom of the Red Sea. Okay. All clustered together. Kind of points in the direction of it happening. Oh, well, first of all, the answer there, Adam. The Anunnaki didn't actually come from the 12th planet, but there is a 12th planet out there. However, let us understand something. The one that is heading in, that is inbound, is not a planet. Okay. The one that's coming inbound is actually a ship the size of a planet. Well, the size of a small planet. But the Anunnaki are a definitive race. Okay. Now, the neat part about it is there are, that I'm aware of, outside the orbit of Pluto. Okay. Outside the orbit of Pluto, there are still 3 more planets in orbit. They're just way, way, way out. Okay. Now, I think they've already spotted one, but there's another couple that are out there. I will have to get in touch with them a little later. But yeah, were the Anunnaki off-worlders? Yeah, they were. Quite frankly, they still are. They were here for a while. Until I know exactly where they are, that's going to be fun. But I will tell you this, Raven. Astrology itself has some critical miscalculations. And I know that's going to tick somebody off. I got told the other day that it was actually an astrologer that was absolutely unhappy with me. But the reality is, you think about it, astrology does work. Problem is, astrology, because those planets are so far out, the odds are what they'll actually do to astrology itself is simply be, would simply be affecting literally generations, if not eons. I will take a look at it right here. YJ just sent it. Okay. Let me just take a peek. Now that I know where those are, we will close that down. And what am I doing here? Oh, I'm looking at the wrong page. That's why. Okay, let's hit refresh and see if that pops in. Well, in simplest terms, YJ, I have no idea because it hasn't arrived. Otherwise, I would be more than happy. Yeah, yeah, it's kind of odd, Raven. My mind does all sorts of really weird things. I'm hoping YJ, let me just see if it comes up this way. Okay. Yeah, it has not arrived as of yet. So I will have to keep an eye out for you. I will answer it when I see it there, YJ. I can't even show you a picture off my computer right now, Raven. You know, this is where we get into that technological complication. You know, because the reality is technology and I argue with each other. But okay. I am looking for it there, YJ, but is it showing up just yet? No. So just have to keep an eye open for that. But I will absolutely get back and give you an answer to it when I see it. What is that? Looks like I'm gonna bring that up so I don't have to fight to see that. Looks like the predator with snakeskin. Yeah, I've done that before, Shadow, myself. Put my glasses down, can't figure out where the heck I put them. And find them in really, really silly locations. Let us find what I'm looking for here. Since you brought him up, and again, this is actually in the Race of the Worlds in the second printing. But there's the critter that they actually and that they based the predator from the movie on. Okay, these guys are not nice people. I mean, they're great people, but little temperamental. Well, you know, Raven, that's taking the whole concept. That's taking the whole concept of making cold calls to a whole new level. You know, but where are we? You know, yeah, for doing this quite on instinct and just going best be doing something. You know, best let you guys know I'm still breathing. I am amazed how many people actually showed up. I think the worst one I ever did where it came to something going missing, and I had a witness for this. I took a belt pouch, hung it on the inside of my door. We were only going to be home for a minute or two, and it went missing. We found it about an hour later inside a sealed box under the middle of my bed where the box had not been touched in 6 months. Now, if I didn't have a witness to that, I'd be looking at it going like, what the heck and how am I going to prove that one? You know, that's just one of those neat little things. You know, I mean, when my buddy turned around, he says, "Well, check under the bed." I says, "Why, pray tell, would I go and check under the bed?" He goes, "I don't know. That's what the voice in my head said to do." I said, "Okay, well, everything else failed, so let's go check under the bed." And he was standing right there beside me when I broke the tape open. Okay, and he's looking at it, going, "There's why you look under the bed." You know, this is just plain normal. Well, probably not normal, but in my world it is. Well, I know I have one, a chap I used to actually, that we used to actually be competitors. When I first met in this one chap, okay, way back during the Black Death, both of us were coroners, both of us had families, and both of us, it turned out, were immune to the plague. Okay, why exactly? Don't know, but boy, did we make a killing. Pardon the pun. You know, but we went from being real staunch adversaries, as it were, to the closest of friends, which ended up carrying over into another lifetime, several hundred years later, when we were running around, and both of us were thieves. Okay, both of us were both of us were lock specialists. Okay, I specialized in safety in safes and lock boxes. He specialized in chastity belts. So for some reason, nobody ever turned him in. None of the women that he ever came to see ever turned him in. You know, gremlins are a whole different ballgame. you know, but they can be a lot of fun. I appreciate that, YJ. Well, see, the leprechauns, also known as the Ituari, are actually very, very true. You know, um, yeah, I'm just going to leave that alone, Shadow. No, the Ituari, which are what you would get, what most people call the leprechauns. Leprechauns and brownies are very close together. I think the only difference, realistically, is size and possibly location. Okay, but they are very much a real race. But they are not off-worlders. The the Ituari are literally an ancient race. But there are a lot of these. It's like the Berondi, also known as goblins. Okay. And some of these creatures. Funny thing is, I get told this is what they're like, and then somebody comes to me and goes, "Here's a mythological creature." Right. I mean, you take a look at the Thunderbird. Okay. The Thunderbird of the so-called First Nations is a real entity. Okay. I'd have to take another look at it because I don't know if he's actually Uka or not. Well, we can always talk to Dave about that one. People have been picking on him for years. The reality, gnomes themselves are actually they are an ancient race, but they fit into the same category as when you take a look at the dwarves. Okay, there are different sizes, and you take a look at humans. Okay, you've got humans and you've got little people. Okay, gnomes are essentially a smaller run of dwarves. Okay, like they have a common ancestor, but they are the ones that went deeper and that ended up working a lot more with the surface people, but they stayed small because it was from a survival standpoint, it was absolutely necessary. You know, so I mean, gnomes are extremely. The really funny part about all this is a lot of the information that you can find in what you call fantasy writing, or or just the imagination. A lot of it has a stable root. Okay. Not so much interbreeding per se. As far as that, if you think about that for a second, Shadow, if we were dealing with interbreeding, there would be way more genetic malfunctions. Like my ex one day told me that the weather was bipolar. You know, I sometimes wonder about computers. Like really, how did you go from this problem to that answer? It's just bizarre. Where are we here? Right there. Now, that being said, I've been on here a lot longer than I was planning on. I figured if I got on here and was here for half an hour, I'd be ahead of the game. But that being said, for those of you that have popped in or are listening in, if you do like the stream, do give us a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel and share the daylights out of it. We are, I'm not going to be on at 4:30 today because, like I said, I've got something I've got to deal with. Tomorrow is Thursday, so I certainly won't be on tomorrow. Okay, but I'm not planning on any hiccups. I should be here on Friday. I know I've got a meeting in the early afternoon, but I should be here anyway. If not, do understand I'm still dealing with family issues that I have to sort through. Okay, but I will be back. Until then, do take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.